Hey everybody, this is Marissa Wood of Blue Fairy Studios, doing my Pinterest presentation tonight about finding and attracting your target market on Pinterest. So let's just get started. We'll jump right into it. First, wanted to ask the question, who is on Pinterest? In order to really understand whether your target market is on Pinterest or whether you can even find them there, you should be using Pinterest for your business. I want to first answer the question, who is on Pinterest? Pinterest currently has an estimated 110 million active members. That is growing significantly. And currently, self-identified females are 71% of that population, with males being at 29%. That is growing. The male population on Pinterest is growing, but it has been predominantly female up to this point. So in the age ranges, we're looking at 34% 18 to 29-year-olds, 28% 30 to 49-year-olds, 27% 50 to 64, and 70% 65 plus. If you look at that, that really means that 54%, 55, I can't do math, 55% of the people using Pinterest between the ages of 30 and 64. So adults, well-established, not in high school or college, probably, adult women. And if you look at the socioeconomic status of these people, these users, Pinterest users, 45% of these users have an income of higher than $60,000 a year, and 50% of them have kids. So that goes without saying, 50% of them don't have kids, so you have sort of an equal amount of parents and non-parents using Pinterest. Okay. Why are they using Pinterest? Why are these people that are on Pinterest? What's the draw? What are they using it for? In 2012, it's a little bit old, but in 2012 there was a study done in a survey of why people use Pinterest, because Pinterest has really grown a lot in the years since it's been introduced, and it's quickly becoming it's addictive. It's very easy for people, and they want to go back to Pinterest, and they use it a lot. So why are they using it? So this study, or the survey that was released, found that a lot of people just find it entertaining. It helps them pass the time, similar to any other social media network. But what I want you guys to look at is that this graphic specifically is comparing Pinterest to Facebook. Facebook is sort of it was the front runner for social media. It was the original social media. It's still pretty much the biggest social media. But what if we compare Pinterest to Facebook? Why are people on Pinterest? And the biggest thing that I want you to see is this inspiration on what to buy. 70% of the respondents in the survey said that they get on Pinterest for inspiration on what to buy, versus 17% for Facebook. They also found that 67% of the people surveyed like to keep track of or collect things that they like, versus 21% on Facebook. Facebook doesn't give you the ability to really do that. Keeping up with the latest trends was a big one. And associating with retailers or brands was also big. More people want to connect with retailers and brands with which they identify, which resonate with them personally, on Pinterest than on Facebook. That was a huge thing for me. About 20% more users use Pinterest to connect with brands and retailers. So I just thought this was a really interesting graphic, just to show you guys why people are on Pinterest. They're looking for things to inspire them and motivate them, and yes, there's a lot of DIYers and people that want to make stuff and do creative things, but most people, at least based on the survey, are on there to also collect ideas and to get inspiration for their next purchase. So what are they looking for when they're looking for these ideas and things to purchase? Well, the top category that is searched for on Pinterest is food and drink. Now, if you think about that for a second, most people are probably not purchasing food and drink from Pinterest. So while it's the first category for search. People really look for recipes and things, ideas for food and drinks on Pinterest. It's not probably the biggest thing that people are looking when they're looking to buy something for inspiration. Same with DIY and crafts. However, a lot of products from Etsy could fall in the DIY crafts category if people put them in there. So you also have to think about this is based on the Pinterest categories, but where your products fall in which category is completely up to you, because you can put them in the DIY and crafts categories if you like, put them in products categories, you can put them in different various categories. DIY and crafts is also a big one. I mean, people want to figure out how to do things and make things. Home decor is third, women's fashion is fourth. Other, sort of the hodgepodge mix of things where nothing fits, is the fifth category. Weddings is sixth. Design, hair and beauty, art, and kids. Those are the top 10 categories on Pinterest, and that doesn't change a whole lot. I think throughout the years maybe it's changed a little bit, but for the history of Pinterest, those have been pretty much the top categories. So the good news here is if you make something that can be related to those categories, so you can use those categories to find your target market and attract them, then Pinterest is going to be a good place for you. If you're in those categories in your industry and what you make, Pinterest is a good place for you. If you make something that's complementary or relates to those categories, or you can use those categories to tie into your product in your industry, then Pinterest is a good place for you. Okay, so now we know kind of who's on Pinterest, mostly adult women. We know kind of what they're doing on Pinterest. They're looking for inspiration, and they collect things that inspire them. They keep up with trends. They want to connect with brands and retailers. And we know when the biggest categories are that they are doing that with. So how do we reach those people? Well, I want to walk through all of these points individually. But basically, there's a couple big things that I recommend, and that as much research as I've done, and as much reading as I do with social media and Pinterest, it seems to be a common theme. So these things are things that everybody can do, and most of them are things that you can do to increase your reach organically, to really reach out to those people that are in your target market organically. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of information about promoted pins, which is the paid feature of Pinterest. Okay, so first we're going to go through utilizing your other social media communities. I'll give you a couple pointers on analytics, providing content, optimizing that content, engaging with people in the promoted pins. Okay, so first tip is you can utilize your other social media communities actually to reach people that you've already kind of curated into a community on another social media platform. So say for instance you're on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus, or I think you can even connect your Gmail email account, other accounts, and you have a good base of people that are in your target market, say on Twitter or on Facebook. You can connect to your Facebook or your Twitter account, and that will help you be recommended to people that also follow you on those platforms. So it'll be like who to follow, and it'll have recommendations, and also let you find them easier. So you can actually connect to these things. So you can connect with this account, and then you can choose whether or not you want to use that account to log in rather than your email and password and things like that. So you don't have to toggle that to log in. See, like this is not connected, but he's logging in with Facebook. Or you can connect it and choose to log in, and you can connect to your Gmail. It just helps you find friends that you've already and connections that you've already connected with other places on the internet. So to do that, you want to go to your account settings and scroll down to social networks, and then you can change those there. So that's one easy tip. The other easy thing is to utilize analytics. And there's a really cool feature part of analytics. Analytics can be really confusing and really complicated, and for big businesses, they're really, really important. I'm not saying they're not important for small businesses or for handmade sellers. If you don't have a large enough following, and you don't have enough activity, and you don't have enough content and enough pins, and you're not using the platform often enough, your analytics will be skewed, because you just don't have enough data to really get the full benefit of these analytics. They're still useful, but they're more useful the larger your account grows because they're more accurate at that point, more accurate representation of your target market and your performance and things like that. At the very beginning, your analytics are going to show you that nothing's happening because you are starting out and your pins aren't getting repinned and all that, so it's kind of disheartening. So I honestly just don't even recommend paying attention to analytics when you're first starting out. You know, you're starting out and you built a Pinterest and it's like, I'm 3 months in and I've only got one repin or nobody's repinning my stuff. You know, 3 months in isn't anything in the long run. I mean, we're talking a year or more, you know, of a long-term commitment to building a good social network community. So, you know, if you're not getting anything in the first 3 months and your analytics are telling you that it's not working, please ignore the analytics and keep going. You know, give it 6 months, give it a year. And then at that point, you know, if you have not grown and you're actively putting things, you know, time and effort and doing things on Pinterest and you haven't grown in 6 months, then we need to talk because there's something wrong going on. Because if you were doing all the steps and you were engaging and you were providing good content, you're doing everything that we're going to talk about, you should absolutely see growth within 6 months. Absolutely. But I still don't think your analytics are going to be accurate until you have a large enough following. I can't give you a solid number on what that is, but I'll tell you it's not 42. So anyway, when you go into analytics, you can go over to analytics right here, and a little drop down box will appear, and then you can go down to people you reach and click on it. It'll give you two options: demographics, which is kind of hidden by the drop down right here, and interests. I keep doing that, I'm sorry. If you go down over to interests and click that, it'll pop up these little categories right here of what your audience is into. So this is a screenshot from my Pinterest account, which I use to pin like tips for businesses, social media, branding, typography, things like that. So my target market is you guys. You know, it's people that are creatives. It's people that are learning about Pinterest for their business or social media for their business, people that are learning internet tools and things like that to better their Etsy business or their handmade business or their blog. Those are the people that I'm trying to reach. So if you look at the things that my audience is into: DIY and home improvement, wedding photography, wedding ideas, typography, recipes, home decor, gardening, graphic design. Those are all things I would expect people that I'm trying to reach to be into, because I'm targeting creatives. I'm targeting people that are making stuff maybe for the wedding industry, or that are maybe graphic designers and interested in typography and graphic design, or people that are interested in, you know, DIY home decor and home improvement. Those are the people that I'm trying to reach, people that are doing something creative with their lives. And you know, most people, these seem very vague and very general, and they might be, but they do reflect, I feel like they reflect people that I'm trying to reach. If you go here and you start looking at this and you are a wedding seller and your audience is into cars, sports, dogs, and lipstick, well, maybe you're not reaching your target market, because those are not the things that you expect your target market to be interested in. So it's beneficial to, on it twofold. It's beneficial to look at this because it can tell you what your audience, your current audience who's looking at your account, what their interests are. So you can use that information to, one, decide whether the people that you're reaching are actually in your target market based on the interests that they are following. So if they're following interests that don't really resonate with what your business is about, then you're not reaching your target market. Or you could look at it and say, my target market really likes wedding decor. Let me see if I can cater to them and put more wedding related stuff up, because that will attract more of my target market. So if but only if that really does relate to your product. So say you sell floral centerpieces and you find that your audience is into wedding decor. Well, floral centerpieces can be used for wedding decor, so that doesn't seem like it's really outside the realm of possibility. So at that point, you're saying, okay, I just need to give them more of what they want. Now if you make floral centerpieces and your audience is into cars and sports, I don't think that you want to give them more of what they want. I don't think you want the point is, don't go and put more cars and sports boards up because you make floral centerpieces and that doesn't relate at all. That at that point is an indication that you're not reaching your target market. Okay, I think I explained that well enough. If you have questions, please comment on the live Q&A that I will do after this video. Okay, so moving on, utilize analytics. A couple links for you guys. You can just copy and paste these. I'm going to try to get these slides as handouts in a file for you guys so you can just copy and paste, download this whole slide thing and use it. But these are a couple links. So one of them is a blog article that is put out by Pinterest. And if you're wanting to use Pinterest and you aren't following the Pinterest blog, you should, because they give you like design ideas, trends, things that are trending. I mean, there's like news and stuff that's going on with the platform too. It's a really good blog to be following for what's going on in Pinterest land. So anyway, this is one that's the business.pinterest.com. It's a blog post on how to use Pinterest analytics to change your pinning habits. And then this one is actually a PDF download, and it walks through the analytics all together. It guides you through using them, what everything means, how to get to stuff. So I've read the entire guide. It's a really good guide, and I would recommend it if you are wanting to use your analytics better on Pinterest. But remember that I don't recommend really focusing on the analytics at first. Okay. So our next tip is about providing enough content. So is it enough to go on Pinterest and create one board with all your products? No. Is it enough to go on Pinterest and create one board with products and 3 boards that are general interests of your target market, like wedding ideas or makeup tutorials or flowers and gardening? No, it's not. So there was another survey done, and people found that what makes people click that follow button? What makes a Pinterest user want to follow somebody else's account? And the 3 biggest things, more than the topics of the boards that they pin about, more than the pins and the content that they're pinning, the 3 biggest things that they found really attracted somebody to follow that account was having enough content, was having the number of followers they had, so that they looked like they were established and they had a good following. If 13,000 people are following somebody, there must be a good reason. So I'm going to follow them too, because they're a big account and they have that authority power. It makes them look, like an expert or an authority in their field, which is where we want to get, but we all have to start somewhere. So also equally important was, a little less. The number of followers was the number 1 reason. But then right up there is number of pins and the number of boards they have. Somebody could have a small following, but you can see that they've got several boards, they've got enough pins, they've got enough content there to pick my interest. I'm not going to pitch a fit if they don't have 13,000 followers or even 500 followers. I would probably still consider following them if they have enough content that is interesting that I want to come back to later and absorb. So those are the 3 things: is the number of pins, the number of boards, and the number of the followers that those people have, structural features. And then from there, it pretty much reflected the popularity of different categories, with DIY and crafts, hair and beauty, design, all those being at the top again. But another thing that's interesting is topic diversity. Not having 50,000 different boards that are just 1,000 different recipes. I mean, if you're looking specifically for a recipe blogger or something, then that's what I expect from them. But, you don't having enough topic variety where they don't feel like they're getting the same thing over and over again, worded in different ways. So having a diverse range of interests and topics and categories on that account was up there, right up there with all the other, top categories that are followed. So that was really interesting to me. So you want to provide enough content. What do I mean by providing enough content? Personally, and in my business, I recommend 15 to 18 boards as a baseline. And I use that term a lot. I mean, people that have been around a while and heard me talk about Pinterest or talk to me about Pinterest hear me say that word baseline a lot. And what do I mean by baseline? I mean a point from which you can grow, a point from which you can really launch the rest of your Pinterest strategy. So, I could start a Pinterest account today and throw up a board and take 3 weeks making 5 other boards and randomly pinning to them. And some boards have 5 pins and some boards have 50 because I got pin crazy one day. That's not a baseline. And that's not really, maybe that's how you can structure a personal account. If it's a personal account, no problem. But for attracting your target market and people and wanting them to follow you, you really want to get a baseline as quickly as possible because you want to be established as quickly as possible. So you want to get that up, get that baseline put up, and then from there you can work on filling in, adding more pins, adding more boards. But you want to have a good chunk of information and content for people to absorb and decide to follow you as you're continually adding more and new and promoting and all that other things that come along with maintenance. That's what I call maintenance. So you have a building phase and a maintenance phase in my Pinterest model. And in the building phase, you want to have 15 to 18 boards as your baseline, as your launch point. On those 15 to 18 boards, give them a chunk of content to digest. Don't give them 5 pins. I recommend 30. Now, I do recommend, I do tell people they can, make those boards public at around 25 because that's something one of my secret tips is start your boards off as secret, fill them up, then toggle them to public. I tell them they can do it around 25, but 30 is a nice round number and I like it. So it's a good couple scrolls, about 3, I don't know, little scrolls through, 2 little scrolls through of pins. And then I don't like seeing boards, and this is an arbitrary number, honestly, but I wanted you to get the idea that it, not 2,000 as maximum pins. That's too much. That's overwhelming. So you have sort of this point of critical mass where it becomes too large for people to ever hope to absorb it, and it becomes overwhelming to people. It's, too much visual stimulation. So, on a specific board, I like to keep it at 200 or 300 and then look at subdividing those boards into other content. So provide enough content, but you don't want to overload them either. So you don't want to have 300,000 boards. If you can come up with 300,000 separate individual topics, kudos to you. But then most of them are probably going to be repetitive and similar, and you don't want to have 3,000 pins on one board because it's just overwhelming. So I like to stay in between that 30 and 300 on a board. And then as part of providing enough content, you want to continually provide content. I like to say at least 10 to 15 pins a day because I feel like that's sustainable. It's easy. It's not a huge number that you can never hope to achieve. At least 10 to 15 pins a day. The more you pin, the more you're going to show up in feeds, the more you're going to attract your target market. Optimal numbers that I've heard and read is 30 for larger accounts. If you're a brand new account, 10 to 15. If you have 500 followers or more, you should be aiming for about 25 to 30. And then creating new boards occasionally, but make sure that's regularly. So I would say seasonally, holidays, anytime your board gets to 300 pins and you switch to divide it into another board, occasionally, not every day, maybe not every week, but it does need to happen on a regular basis. You should definitely be creating boards seasonally for new holidays and new seasons, and that happens about once a month. So that's occasional but regular. And then make sure you follow the 80-20 rule for content. So for every 10 to 15 pins that you pin, and that's including repins of other people's content, new uploads of your own, pins from around the web that you drug onto Pinterest by the little handy browser pin it button, which everybody should have if you have a business account. Follow the 80-20 rule, so you don't want to overload people with your content on a daily basis. So having content of your own on Pinterest is important. But on a daily basis, as you're doing daily maintenance pinning, you don't want to pop up in your followers' feeds with 15,000 product pins or 15,000 blog posts or 15,000, whatever. You want to make sure that you're spreading that out throughout the day and that you're giving your target audience a little bit of yourself, but a lot of other content value. Okay. And then we're going to move into providing interesting content. So we've talked about providing enough content, but what kind of content do we want to provide? Well, reference your analytics audience section. We talked about that pretty extensively. You want to make sure you're following the interests of your audience. If your audience section doesn't reflect your target market and its interests, then you need to do a little bit more research. Think about your target market and think about their interests. So that's another big thing is you want to make sure that the content you are pinning is relevant to your target market, regardless of what this audience section says. So just because it's popular doesn't mean your target market will like it. And don't be generic. So a big thing I hear is food. I pin recipes, because everybody likes food, why can't I pin food? It's the most popular category. It'll bring tons of people to my account. Are those people your target market? Yeah, everybody has to eat. Everybody likes food. But not everybody likes the same food. Not everybody wants to see food recipes. Yes, it's popular, but what does it have to do with your business? Why is it important to your target market? So one of my things that I recommend to people a lot is if you're going to pin food, because it's the most popular category and it's the first thing people think of to put on their Pinterest accounts for some reason, you're going to pin it. Don't pin everything that looks like yummy to you. You want to pin specifically for the type of person you're trying to attract. So for instance, if you are a natural holistic person or have a business that's natural and holistic, like you make natural body scrubs or you make natural teething necklaces or you make anything that's sort of in that alternative, holistic, natural, boho, hippie, tree hugger, eco-friendly, green, whatever you want to call it. Well, if you make stuff that falls into that target market, then if you choose to pin food, then you want to cater to that lifestyle, to those people that are in that lifestyle. So you'd want to pin recipes that are like paleo, gluten-free, vegan, Whole30, raw. I'm not saying that everybody in your target market's a vegan or everybody in your target market eats a paleo diet, but chances are if you're attracting those types of people, those are things that kind of go hand in hand a lot, and it's likely that people who like your products will also like those recipes, or vice versa. People that like those recipes may also be interested in your natural holistic products. So, maybe it's a little bit stereotypical, maybe. But really what you're trying to do is think about what your target market likes. And I don't feel like that's stereotypical if you are to be narrow and to be targeting a specific type of person. You're making generalizations about your target market, so don't be generic. Be specific. If you're going to target them. Don't just pin because people like food. People like drinks. Because I like food. Because I like to drink. Don't pin those things just for that reason. All right. We want to provide quality content. So the biggest content on Pinterest is what? Images. Images are the heartthrob of Pinterest. So, or the heart of Pinterest. So, how do we optimize our images to be quality and be attractive to our target market? Because the reality is there's so many pins that pop up when people search for things and they scroll through. How are you catching their eye? How are you attracting your target market? Yeah, I can show up in search results all day long, but if my image is not attractive and it's not catching somebody's eye, then it's not going to get seen and it's not going to get absorbed by that person, and they're not going to come follow me, and they're not going to see my wonderful products. So how do we find and use quality images? If you're making your own pins, Canva has a template for Pinterest. If you're not using Canva, the sizings recommended are 736 pixels wide by 1103 pixels tall. So a taller image does better on Pinterest because it gets more feed space. It's more noticeable. You're using those horizontal Etsy pictures and they're going to get lost. They're going to just get scrolled right by because there's tons of other bigger pins surrounding it. And then a couple other like kind of marketing psychological things that I've found when I was doing some research is that images with multiple dominant colors rather than like one single dominant color, so say a white bracelet or a black headband. If you use an image with multiple items in the picture that have multiple different colors, you know, a nice color scheme, those tend to do better, and they actually have about 3.25 times more repins than images that use a single color, a monochromatic color scheme. Images that are lighter, that have more light rather than darker images. So things, if you look at something and it looks like it came out of the Home and Garden magazine, or it's you know, light and airy and it's pretty, or just the lighting itself is, you know, more apparent. You know, Sarah's whole thing, light and bright, doesn't mean white. It just means there's light in the image. It makes you feel lighter. It's not a dark, somber image. Those have about, the lighter images have about 20 times more repins than darker components. And then images with 50% color saturation get about 10 times more repins, rather than images that are grayscale or black and white, or you know, that doesn't mean that they can't be repinned if you have a black and white image, if you're doing like black and white photography or whatever. I mean, there's a specific market and people that look for that. But if you're, you know, looking at your photo editing, things that have brighter colors that pop a little bit more tend to do better on Pinterest. And then pins that have less than 10% background. So we're talking like the solid white background, solid color backgrounds, a pair of sunglasses laying on a black table or a white table or whatever, you know. Those backgrounds, those pins that have a lot of backgrounds get pinned fewer times than the ones that have less than 10% background. The ones with less than 10% background get repinned about 2 to 4 times more than the other ones with just lots of empty space, negative space. Okay. Our next point for reaching our target market is optimize, and it breaks that down into two things: pinnable images and keywords. So optimizing your images, use the right size. We already talked about that. Use the right size. We already talked about using images with good composition, lighting, color, saturation, arrangement, whatever. Okay. But in addition to that, you should include pinnable images on every product page, whether that's your own website or it's on Etsy. You know, use that 5th image spot if you have 4 photos, you know, or extra image spot. Use one for a vertical image that can be pinned. Because when people go to pin something, they can, you know, scroll through the pictures on Etsy and see one and actually pin it that way. I mean, now, granted, they might pin the first image, which could be a horizontal image, so you could use your vertical image if it fits as your first image, so that people that don't scroll through and just click pin will pin the pinnable one, the pin optimized one. But you know, when people grab images from around the web with their browser button, it'll ask them which image they wish to pin, and typically if they are following good pinning guidelines, they'll pick the vertical ones, the longer ones. So include a pinnable image, give that to them, make it easy for people to share your content. Include a pinnable image on every product page on either your own website or on Etsy. Include a pinnable image in every blog post. If you're writing a blog for your business, you should be creating a graphic that goes at the top or the bottom or somewhere in your blog, at least one graphic, at least one picture that can be shared to Pinterest. Again, for the same reasons I just said about people grabbing pins and pictures from around the internet. Include a pinnable image in every email blast. So if you have an email list and you're sending out things to your subscribers, newsletters or promo codes or product sneak peeks or whatever, make that a pin size. Make it a Pinterest-sized graphic and put it in your email and allow it to be able to be pinned from their email to their Pinterest board. Make it easier for them to share your content. And then you can also use pinnable images on other social media platforms. Canva is great for creating graphics, and they have template sizes for Facebook and Instagram. Those are optimized, for those posts and stuff. But you can still post a Pinterest-sized graphic to Facebook or Twitter or Google+. I don't think you can do it to Instagram as easily because I know they've got the new ratios that you can do, like the longer landscape images and stuff and the squares, but I don't think the vertical images are going to do as well on Instagram for you. So, if you have Facebook or Twitter and you have a graphic you need to make on Canva, make it in a Pinterest size, and that way you can put it on Facebook and link it to Twitter, and people can share it from there and get it on Pinterest. It's easier, it's already optimized, so when people reshare your content, it's already optimized for Pinterest. And then you want to optimize with keywords. So you can use this Pinterest search bar to find commonly searched for words and phrases. You start typing something like flower arrangements or flower whatever, it'll pop up ideas and suggestions for search based on things that people have commonly searched for. When you click on one of those, then at the top of the search result of all the images that pop up, it'll actually give you other keywords, other filters, and ways you can narrow that down. So use that built-in search feature for Pinterest to find your keywords and phrases that are going to help attract people to your account. When you find those words and phrases, you want to include those in your board titles. I recommend it's one keyword phrase. You have a set amount of characters to use. I can't tell you off the top of my head what that is, but it's 3 or 4 words, depending on how long that word is. You can fit into a board title. Board descriptions. I like to say 2 to 5 keyword phrases worked into a sentence when possible. So those keyword phrases that you find, put them in your board titles. Put them in your board descriptions. Put them in your pin descriptions. So when you're creating your own pins from Etsy or you're, pinning from Etsy, change that description. Change it. Don't let it just be the keyword titles repeated. Put either the first part of your item description in there because you should have keywords in your copy, or, make a story-like conversational sentence with at least one keyword phrase in each sentence. I recommend 2 to 4 sentences for your descriptions, but you can only have 500 characters max per Pinterest. So conversational, story-like, not something that's, just dry and this is a black bangled bracelet. No, we need to talk about this item a little bit more. That's the whole point of Pinterest, inspire people. You want to go for pin descriptions that are likable rather than like where on Instagram or Facebook you're trying to go for copy that kind of gets people to engage and comment with you. On Pinterest, engaging and commenting is nice, but you really want them to click like, or you really want them to click repin. So put descriptions in there that entice them to pin it rather than comment on it, if that makes any sense. Okay. And then also in your biography, I recommend 1 or 2 keyword phrases in the sentence that describes you or your business. Okay, so then we are going to engage. Engage by following accounts, but you don't want to follow every account. You don't want to follow everybody that follows you. You just want to follow accounts that can provide quality content that you can reshare to your target market. You want to make sure they have a good number of followers, that they're well established, so, they have a good baseline themselves. You've done all this work, or you've got your own Pinterest baseline. You don't want to go following accounts that are not up to the point that you are. So like they might have 5 boards and 3 pins on each board. No, don't follow those people. Make sure they at least have a baseline and have some followers. You can follow accounts that are well-known brand name or celebrity, an expert in a certain field, or an internet personality like a blogger. Those are great accounts because they'll give you quality content. They're active and they typically have a good number of followers. It's a good point of research as well if they're similar to your industry. If they're like if they're a big brand that makes the same thing you do, but as a mass commercial brand, then those are people to kind of watch and see what they do, because they're paying people the big bucks to do their social media. So watch what they do. Just follow and do sort of some research on them. Other ways to engage is to reply to comments left on your pins. I just said that you're not aiming for comments on your pins, but if anybody ever does comment on your pin and it's not like a spammy a comment, and everybody knows what a spammy comment is. If it's not a spammy comment, it's a genuine comment, you can reply to those. You should reply to those. That's just good customer service and that's just putting a good impression out of yourself and your business. And then you can like your followers' pins. If somebody follows you, rather than follow them back if they don't meet the criteria for following the account and they're not, you don't quite want to follow them, rather than follow them back, you can just like some of their pins. If they're relevant to your target market, because those do still show up, people can click on the like part and see what pins you've liked on your account. So like them if you want to, just to show some support for your followers. And repin is appropriate. If they have, like I said, if they are providing good content, maybe they don't have enough content where you want to follow them, but maybe they've got a couple little things you scroll through real fast and you repin a couple other pins. They'll appreciate it, and it doesn't hurt you because it's so relevant to your other target market, your other followers. Some other information on promoted pins is the last point I wanted to go over. Everything else we've talked to from up to this point was about organic, optimizing your Pinterest and, extending your reach organically, drawing and attracting your target market. Promoted pins is another way to do that. It is similar to advertising on any other platform, any other social media platform. If you've ever run an ad on one, it's very similar. So you just pay to promote a specific pin, and you set an audience for that pin. So there's a couple articles, documents for that. This first one, again, is a download. It's a guide, just sort of like the other one for the analytics. And the second one is an article on targeting tools, which they just introduced. And so basically now there are a couple new ways to use targeting tools to make sure your promoted pins reach the people that you want them to reach. So they just introduced 3 new audience targeting tools, and one of those is customer list targeting, and then there's visitor retargeting and lookalike targeting. And I copied this description from the Pinterest article itself. And so targeting existing customers uses emails or mobile ad ideas with customer list targeting. Reach people who visited your site already with visitor retargeting, and target a larger group of people who look and act similar to your audience with lookalike targeting. So 3 tools that are really cool that they've introduced to help you get your pins to the right people and kind of do that promoted pin research. I will caution you again, sort of like with the analytics, I probably wouldn't do a promoted pin when you're a brand new account, 3 months in or whatever. Get yourself established a little bit, get some followers, get an audience, get an idea of what your audience likes, what they're interested in and things like that. And then, if you're ready to dive into promoted pins, go for it. But at the very, very beginning, I just don't even do it. Try to do your other things organically. Do as much and optimize yourself organically as you can before you do promoted pins. But promoted pins are a great way to extend your reach. But make sure you've got something to show people and that it's polished before you do so. All right, so I have a couple things at the end of this presentation that I created for you all to help find and attract your target market on Pinterest. So I just created some slides that you can download print out to fill out and help you with your Pinterest marketing strategies. So first, who's your target market? Put down their gender, put down their age, list 3 main interests. Just think of their 3 main interests. Tell us why your target market uses Pinterest. Go back to that whole, are they using it to collect ideas? Are they using it to find inspiration to buy something? Just start thinking about your target market. What are 5 commonly searched phrases on Pinterest that might be used by your target market? Use your search bar, get some practice here, list those 5 things out. 3 successful Pinterest business competitors. Go look for those big brands, those celebrities, those experts, those bloggers, people that aren't maybe necessarily a big brand, but they make something that is similar to you and they've got a good base of followers. Write those accounts names down here so that you can keep track and do your competitor research. And then make some notes. What are they doing right? What inspiration can I take from them? What can I do to model their success? I'm not saying steal it and do exactly what they do or pin exactly everything they have on every board, but take some inspiration. They've done something to get that many followers. Maybe you can take some ideas from that. But you should also look at them and say, are they doing anything wrong? Is there anything I would change or do differently? Because not every account that has lots and lots of followers, they have several thousand followers, not all of them are doing things exactly right. Exactly like on Etsy, how people who can become in the top of the search might not necessarily be doing all the SEO and things that, we learn and flourish here. They might, and we don't understand why they're there. So while they might be successful, apparently successful, you can still look at them and say, is there some stuff I don't like? I don't feel like they're doing right. That wasn't recommended. This is against what I was taught. And, what would you change or do differently? And then you want to look at your competitors' followers. Once you find those competitor accounts and sort of identify and do the research, look at their followers. Are their followers actually in your target market? If they're competitors of yours, then those followers should be in your target market. But if they're not, then that competitor, they're just attracting random people. Are they really attracting their target market? Are they doing it right? So that's another sort of mark of whether, that's a good account to kind of keep your eye on or base things off of is what are their followers like? Are they your target market? And then look for 5 accounts to follow for reshareable non-competitive content. So these are people that are not competitors of your own product or your own services. These are people that just maybe make stuff that complement, or that have boards that have good content that you could reshare to your target market and it's relevant. And then I have a challenge for you all for helping you build your baseline. So I want you to put out 5 general board topics that appeal to your target market. Yes, please use the Pinterest search and find keyword, 3 to 4 keyword phrases that could be board titles. 2 to 4 keyword phrases that could be board titles. And then we want to break those general board topics down into more specific narrow subtopics, and those will help you get your other boards. So you can put your general topic up there and then narrow it down to subtopics and then put your descriptions here, and it helps you kind of plan your whole Pinterest baseline. Again, with keywords, everything like that. I have 5 of those here for you all for your 5 general topics, and then I have an example. So I went ahead and did one to show you what this would look like. So say our general topic was wedding ideas, and I broke that down to 5 for narrower subtopics: boho wedding decor, beach wedding dresses, wedding table centerpieces, outdoor wedding inspiration, and alternative flower bouquet ideas. Those could all be used as board titles. And then we could take all these other keywords that are related to like boho wedding decor, boho chic, wedding decor, DIY, and inspiration for the free spirit bohemian bride. So there's several keywords and keyword phrases in here that relate to that we could use as a board description. And I've framed it into a sentence here: from casual beach wedding dresses to elegantly formal wedding dresses for beach destination weddings. So we have several keyword phrases in here. Another way to do that I commonly use will be wedding table centerpieces, and just rename the title in a different way: beautiful wedding centerpieces, and then give a colon and give some examples of that: floral centerpieces, landing centerpieces, luminaries, mason jar, DIY centerpieces, and more. It's still a sentence, but it still uses a lot more keywords that way, but it's not just a list of keywords like you would see in an Etsy listing title or something like that. So there's just an example. You guys can use this as a template to help you attract your target market with optimization of keywords. Again, my name is Marissa Wood. That's the end of my presentation. I just did want to give you guys a little bit more information. My business is Blue Fairy Studios, and if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Facebook at Blue Fairy Studios. or you can find my website, bluefairystudios.org. And for all of you guys that tuned into this presentation, through the month of July, you can take 25% off of a Pinterest Power Up. If to do so, you just need to contact me and reference this code right here so that I know you watched this presentation at Pinterest Power 25. Send that to me in a Facebook message or whatever at the time of purchase, and I'll take $25 off a Pinterest Power Up. If you aren't sure what a Pinterest Power Up is, please, you can contact me, ask me a question about it, or you can visit me on bluefairystudios.org. But basically, to give you an idea, it is a service that I provide to help you get your baseline together, optimize it, and get it nice and branded cohesive so that you can have your launch point set and ready to go for you to just take on into maintenance and continue to grow your following. If you already have a Pinterest account, it's sort of a cleanup and a makeover, if you will. So if you're interested in that, you can, like I said, send me a message or find me on my Facebook page or my website contact form. And it's been a pleasure being able to present to you all today. I will be in group for 30 minutes to an hour after this presentation, starting at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.